I'll be making a flow that will go through all of my open tabs in my browser and copy both the title and the URL. This might be relevant if you have a lot of tabs open, like if you're looking at job postings and you want to save that in a notepad, so you don't have to have them open at the same time. First of all, I'm going to add a message box where the user has to put in the URL of the first page, and this will be used to open the browser instance so we can refer to the first tab. So I'll just add here that you should copy paste. And then to be a good boy, I'm going to add an if statement saying that if they close or they hit cancel on the button, then the flow should stop. So if the button pressed is different from OK, then stop. So we can just test this and say, I hit cancel and it stopped. So now it won't accidentally keep running. So at this point I need to launch a new browser instance, and I'm using Chrome. So we can just say to create the new based on the attached to a running instance, and then say it should be based on URL because we get that from a variable. And that variable would then be first tab URL. So that is fine. And then I want to grab details from it. I want the URL and the title of the page. So I'll be adding an extract data. No, I'll be grabbing get details. And then I want the title, which will be first title, because I need many rows. And I also need the web browser's current URL address. And notice how it says web page here, but here it says web browser. And this will provide a problem which we'll need to solve right afterwards. Since I know I'll need multiple values, I'll create a data table that I can store them in. So I'll create a new data table with 2 columns being URL and title. And then I'll populate the first row with my first tab's information. So first URL and first title. And then from here, since I know I'll need 2 informations from each tab, I'll create a new list which I'll be using to temporarily store my new tabs in. And then I'm going to create an infinite loop so I can provide a way to stop it later once I hit the first tab again. So I'll go under loops and say a conditional and say that it should run as long as true equals to true, which it will always be. So whenever you add an infinite loop, you need to make sure to find a way to stop it. Right now I have the information from the first tab, so I need to go to the second tab. And I thought there was a way to do this with the browser automation group, but I couldn't find that. So I'd have to use my send keys. If I can find that. Send keys. And then to go to a new tab, you need to send a modifier. So control and then tab. So I'm sending control tab and not a control followed by a tab. So the tab is in curly braces. It should be in curly braces. So the tab is inside the parentheses for the control. You can see that here we have the regular braces, and then we have the curly braces around tab. So this is like pressing control tab as I'm doing right now. So that's fine. And then we need to go up to the browser where you type in the URL, which is just F6, and then send a control C. And then I needed to press escape because otherwise this can mess up when you try to go to a new tab. So I need to send F6 to go up to the URL, control C, and then escape to get out. So I'll copy the send keys, action, and then just replace everything. So that was a special key, which is F6. And then I needed to send a control, which is a modifier. And then in here I need the curly braces around the C. So I'm sending a control C and not a control followed by C, which you can get here the syntax by mousing over the information. What it says here down at the bottom, if you wanted to send control plus A, you need that syntax. And then finally I need to add an escape. So we break out of this here. And that is fine, and this will give that. Then now I have the URL stored on my clipboard, so I need to actually get that into a variable inside Power Automate. So I'll get a clipboard text and say this is then my current tab URL. And then I can reuse the launch Chrome. But now this will be a new URL, which will then be what I just got from the clipboard. So that will be my current tab URL. And then from here, in order to break out of the loop, and I need to put my actions inside the loop. So here, now that I have the URL, I can now compare the new tab's URL to the first tab's URL. And then if these two are the same, then I know I've gone all the way through and I'm back on the first page. So I'll say if my first tab URL, which is fixed, that will never change, if that's equal to my current URL, current tab URL, then I want to exit the loop because now I'm back at the beginning. And otherwise I want to do something else. And what I want to do is first, since I have a list up here which I'm using to store the current tab in, I need to clean that. So I need to clear the list. Yes. And at this point I can get the detail from the web page. So here I can just reuse the action from before, but I need to make sure to change the variable that it's stored in. So I'll get the details of web page, but this will be the current title. And the current URL. And then I can add that to my list, which will just be a data row that I can use afterwards. And you can probably do this with a set variable, so there's only one action, but I think I can live with doing it like this, where I have two actions. So I had URL first in my table, and then I have the title second. That was a mistake. So I'm adding that to the new tab row, and then I'm repeating that, but this time with the title, and making sure that my title is the second action. So I'll have a row where the first item is the URL and the second is the title, which is also what my data table is. So you can always go back and check. So URL first, then title. And then that's all fine, and then it's just going to, when I run this, it'll just go through, but I haven't actually done anything with the data table. So first I'll show the not so nice way to handle this, because it's easy, where you can just display a message saying that these are the URLs. So you just print the whole data table to a message box, and you'll see in a moment why this is ugly. We don't need that variable. And then instead I'm just going to show it all at once to be faster. So you can run the application, a notepad, and what's nice is you don't have to find the destination. You can just type notepad directly. And then in here I'm going to open a new notepad and say that I want to populate a field which is under the UI automation tab. So here I just want to do form filling and say populate text field. And then I need to actually find the text box, which we can just add a UI element. And what's important here is that notice how it says untitled and there's no asterisk because I haven't written anything. So when you open up a new notepad, this is what it's going to say. So if I were to type anything in here, there'll be the asterisk because I haven't saved the changes. And this, I had a mistake with that before where I tried typing something and then I said I wanted to use this notepad. Notice how it says window untitled notepad. But again, right now it doesn't say untitled, it says asterisk untitled. So make sure you don't write anything when you want to do this method. And then the text to fill is just my data table. So at this point we can save and let it run. It would help a bit if I actually added an action here to add my list to my data table. And also I can see that I made a mistake here. Yeah, here I say current URL, but I'm not storing the current URL. I'm saying current tab URL. So I need to change that. And then I actually need to add a row to my data table. So this is what happens when you do things live. I want to insert a row, and then this is just the list that I created here, which is effectively just one row. So my data table was just called data table, and my new value is called the current row. And now I can try running it again. Since I'm using the send keys action, I need to make sure I'm not touching my keyboard. So here we get something that looks right, except there's something wrong with some of these titles, which I don't think I can do very much about. This is just the way the web pages are structured. So it's not 100% correct, but as you can see here, if you just take your mouse over the title, it looks fine, and then for some reason it's just not. I can't do very much about this. At least I don't think I can. So yeah.